On today's video, we're going to discuss the differences between a taper and a fade. Thank you for watching today. If we're just meeting, my name is Elliot Forbes. I'm a male grooming specialist based in London. This channel is dedicated to hair, beard and grooming tips for the modern man. So if that's something you're interested in, you might want to consider subscribing. Now, not a lot of people in the shop when they come in know whether they want a taper or whether they want a fade. So today we're going to discuss this in a little bit more depth. So the next term is, what's the difference between a taper and a fade? Now this is a great question really, and it's quite a hard one to answer, and I can only answer it for what it means for myself. Because in the hair world, whether it's barber or hairdressing, so many people have different terms and there's no one sort of central system as to what things are called, and a taper to someone might be a fade to someone else. So I'll explain to you what I feel the difference between a taper and a fade would be. Now, if I'm thinking of what a fade is, that would be basically you can choose the shortest level, and you can go all the way down to skin. You can do a 0 on the clippers, you can do a 0.5, you can do a 1, even a 1.5 or a 2, to be honest, depending on the density of the hair, can be the shortest point of whatever the fade is. And when you're doing that, basically what you would do is when someone says, oh, I'd have a skin fade, or I'll have a 0.5 fade. Basically what that does is, if someone says you want a 0.5 fade, you'll then put the baseline of a 0.5 fade in. So if say they want a 0.5, you would then put the 0.5 line going round the head, and then you would fade up from that. And now there's different guidelines for where that is. You could have it quite low, you could have that just over the ear, you could have it midway, you could have it really quite high. Now the difference between those is obviously if you have 0.5 quite low, then it's the fade is going to be really quite stretched out. You've got a chance of it it's easy to fit the 1, the 1.5, the 2 in through there. So that fade then looks really drawn out. If you were to put the 0.5, say, really quite high at the top, really what you're going to do is you're going to then do a 1 and a 1.5 over a very small area. So the fade is over a very small area. Now, they're not wrong or right, they're just different looks. It's all depending on what you want. That would be more, I would consider a fade. If I was to think of a taper, then what I would do with that would be more of in through the sideburn area and then in through the nape area. Now, as you can see with my hair, I've gone quite short in through here, and you can see there's a little bit of a mullet growing out through the back. So this is all quite a bit longer. So I would actually probably consider this more of I guess it's sort of in between a taper and a fade really, because it goes quite high up in through here with the 1.5, but you can see how it just sits really short through here. I'll put an example of what I think a taper would be. Basically, you can keep a lot more length in through this area and a lot more density in through there if you're tapering. You can go down to skin all the way through here and fade that out over a very small area and then blend that into the length, and then in through the nape you can taper that out. Obviously then other people will then class just tapering through the edges. Basically a taper or a fade is graduation. It's going from a shorter length to a longer length, and basically it's however big a space you want to do it over. So if you want to do a taper, you would be doing it over a small space in through here. If you wanted to do a fade, you could do it over a bigger area in through the whole of the sides. You can even do a fade in through the front, to be honest. I've tapered or faded the front out, however you want to call it. My hair, I used clippers on the front and then faded that into the length that I have through there. So that's the difference between a taper and a fade. I'll put a few different examples up now that you can see between a fade and compare them side to side, so you have a real idea of what the difference between the two is as well. If you enjoyed that video, press that like button and then smash the subscribe as well. If you want to send me a message, all my social media channels are here and they're all going to be linked below. Twitter's probably the easiest one to get in touch with me. We can start a nice little dialogue there. Head on over to my channel now and go and check out the Elliot Ask Show. There's plenty more tips and hints from industry experts. Thank you for watching. Much love, Elliot.